In this video, we're going to review how to change colors of yarn, and you would use this if you're moving from waste yarn to project yarn, or it's the same method for adding a ravel cord, or if you want to do stripes in your project, for example, it's all the same method. So I'm going to start by moving the needle where I want to change the color, let's say right after the main mark, right to the break in the yarn feeder. Looking from this angle, my main mark is right here. So the first needle past the main mark is the one where I'm going to change my yarn. I start by cutting my current yarn. Then I use the loom tool to pull that yarn through, and from looking from this angle, my previous yarn is coming down on the left side of the target needle. Then I get my new yarn, feed it through the yarn mast, drop it into the cylinder, and my first step is actually to clip the two yarns together. So there I have both of them clipped together. And then my new yarn is going to go on the right side of that target needle, and then into the slit in the yarn feeder. And then I thread it through and pull out the slack. So now you can see here that the two yarns are hugging the needle where I want to change colors. I've got from this angle, my old yarn is coming on the left side of the needle and the new yarn is going down on the right side of the needle. Then you just start cranking. Make sure the needles catch, which they did, and that's all there was to it. If you were changing from waste yarn to project yarn, that's really all you would do. Same thing with a ravel cord. However, if this was a stripe in a project, for example, it is possible to weave those ends in. So you want to have the ends continue in the way they would have been going. So my yellow yarn is my new yarn, and it is knitting this way, which means the tail goes off this way. It's possible to weave it around several needles. Do one more. And then tuck it down into the cylinder, and you need to just hold it with your hand as you crank around. As the needles start to get to the center where the stitches fall below the latches, you might have to tuck the little woven stitches down by hand. And then stop when the needle where you switched is right at the yarn feeder, and the old yarn is going to travel in this direction. So you're trying to keep the yarn going in the direction it was going. So the yellow was the new yarn that's knitting this way, so the tail needed to go this way, and this yarn now, the tail end needs to go this direction. So again, you can simply weave it in and out of the first several needles. There we go. And then hold it down with your hand, push them down, push the stitches down below the latches, and keep knitting. From here then you can see it's just all woven in, and you could cut off those ends and you wouldn't have to sew them in by hand later. One other option where you don't have to sew in the ends later is called a faux Russian join. So in that case, you would pull forward your first yarn and then load your new yarn in the yarn feeder, and you're going to basically fold them together like this, okay? And then the fold happens right where, kind of connects right where you're going to change your yarn. So I just pull my first yarn straight down in, we'll catch that on the flip side, and then holding the two together, and you don't need very much, a couple of inches, see. Let's do maybe that much. Holding them together, you feed them into the yarn feeder. The little piece really just has to go under the bar. And then I hold that down and I start cranking, and it has knit those stitches in, so it's very secure. And then when you come back around so that the other end is somewhere that you can work with it, you will wrap it around 2 or 3 needles. And that's really all you need to secure it. And I'll hold that down. Make sure you push them down so they're below the latches, when the stitches fall below the latches. And then they knit right in. So here's what that looks like close up. And then you could just go ahead and trim off the ends and you're all done. That's really everything to know about changing yarns on your Dean and Bean sock machine. Happy knitting! Visit us at deanandbean.com and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.